Welcome back at the Addison Historical Museum. The North Suburban Carvers Club is a nonprofit organization for wood carving enthusiasts that's been around for decades. And joining me is Paul Gratzky, who is president of the club and quite the talented craftsman, as you will soon see. I mean, these are looking great. But before we get to all this, thank you for joining us today, Paul.
Oh, my pleasure.
Again, before we get to all these beautiful pieces that you brought with you today, could you tell us a little bit how you got started in the craft and what's inspired you with all of these works?
Well, I started out doing woodworking, making furniture pieces and things like that. But during the winter, it's kind of impossible because it's cold. So I took a class at the College of DuPage and took a class in carving. And I kind of really enjoyed it immediately. I like about it is that it doesn't require a huge amount of time. You can start and stop very quickly. It's almost like knitting. You can do it for 10 minutes or 2 hours, you know.
Right.
You can start and stop real easily and then just kind of like sweep off the chips and you're done.
Right. Now I wanted to ask you what types of wood do you work with, or do you have a favorite type, or is some wood easier to work with than others perhaps?
Most carvings are done on basswood. It's a very popular wood to do. And I knew you were going to ask this question, so I brought this piece, which was the very first thing I ever carved.
Is it? Yeah.
In 1980 when I took that class. And it's a little trivet, and this is called chip carving. And I used this for my coffee cup on my desk for about 40 years before I retired. And this is called chip carving.
Okay.
And then the second thing I ever carved, it was a piece of mahogany, and this is called a fast fox. And this is called carving in the round because you carved all the way around the piece. And the next style of carving would be relief carving, which would be like this piece over here.
Okay.
And I can grab that.
Yep.
So this is relief carving, where you're only carving on one side of the wood.
Okay.
So those are your three basic types of carving. And I enjoy doing all of them. Basswood is the most popular kind of wood. Mahogany carves real well. Butternut carves really well. And I carved a lot of things out of walnut too. Other woods that splinter real easy, like oak, is not very good.
Okay.
It can be carved, but it's not popular because it doesn't carve well.
Okay.
But so I would say basswood is the most popular wood to carve.
Is there a certain process of selecting the wood itself, or a selection process, or how do you prepare the wood at all?
No, we like to buy wood, a good quality wood, and northern basswood is the best wood that grows in the northern part of the country compared to basswood that would grow in the south, because it grows too fast in the south and it grows slower and it's a tighter grain. Slower growing trees from the north are better to carve.
Are there any wood that you use that is sustainably sourced or reclaimed wood, or do they look for environmentally conscious wood at all, when you're kind of picking that?
Not particularly, but a lot of people will only carve wood that's already been used, second source wood. Right. People will carve objects out of old furniture that's been discarded. Right. There are some people that like to only carve pine wood, even though it's not great to carve, but they'll only carve old skids rejected from factories.
Right.
So there's all sorts out there.
Now, what types of materials do you all use? I mean, I know that there's the carving knives, some magnifiers for smaller details, but and there's a lot of different types of carving knives that one could use. Right. Yeah.
We use standard carving knife, which is a very simple carving knife with a relatively short blade, maybe an inch to inch and a half long. And another thing we use are chisels, and this would be a palm chisel, which could be used in your palm, and you can either use one hand to push it, or you can guide it with two hands and control it real well. And then also on bigger projects, we have larger tools, and I have some of those back here. Didn't bust them out yet, but these are what they call full-size tools, and these tools are used very commonly for carving, and this is a full-size tool. And you can hold it in your hand, and you can guide it with this hand, and you can safely carve away from yourself with full-size tools like this.
Now, is there a way to safely sharpen these tools and kind of maintain them?
Yes,
Yeah.
we use leather strops to just to maintain them.
Okay.
It's a good practice to stop and strop every 20 minutes or so while you're carving. And if you do that, they'll almost never get dull. The only time knives get dull is if you drop them or clink them together with other tools, or maybe if you hit a nail or something that's in a piece of wood. There sometimes are little pieces of bullets and buckshot in the wood that you don't notice.
Right.
And when you hit them, you dull the tool. But if you do dull the tool, you can use a sanding wheel or a grinding wheel and regain the shape, and then strop it down until it's sharp again. So it's real easy to maintain the tool if you don't let them get dull.
Right. Now, how do you achieve, just looking at all of these pieces, how do you achieve the different styles and textures that we see here?
Well, a lot of carvers like myself, I like to leave the carving knife marks in the piece.
Okay.
I have painted this one, but I painted it with a very thin coat so that you could still see through and see the wood. Other carvings that I've done, I use a different paint where it's completely painted over, and you really can't see the wood. But even then, I don't like to sand them smooth. I like to leave them so you can actually still see the knife marks, so you can tell that it's wood. A lot of carvers, many carvers, like to sand the products and make them look extremely lifelike, and then paint them, and they look so realistic you think that the birds and fish are going to swim away.
Right.
And I choose not to do that because I think that sometimes those super realistic items, they almost look like they're plastic almost, because they're so perfect, you know.
Yeah.
But
So when you said for that one piece, the Christmas ornament here, that you said you painted it. Is there a way to incorporate color other than painting, or any other artistic elements with color?
You can use stain. Okay. You can use dyes.
Okay.
You can just use like an oil type finish and finish it that way. I've got some variation here. This is a blank that I started with. Just draw the picture on there and cut the outside shape.
Right.
And then in this one here, I've cut it a little bit further along, and it's more carved, it's partially carved. Yeah. And then this one here is the same thing, only it's farther along, and the detail is better, and it's almost ready to paint. So then this would be the finished product after paint, but I bring these so that you can see the process.
Now, when you're carving, you kind of almost touched upon this, is there like a template that you would use? Or I'm kind of just astounded by how the carvers can visualize that three-dimensional look to it before they even go into the wood. Like, how do you guys visualize that?
You don't have to be super artistic to do this.
Okay.
There are plenty of places where you can buy the plans, magazines, plenty of places, the internet, everywhere, where you can get the plans and the ideas on how to do this. And all you have to do is really to implement them. I've done some very, very creative pieces, but there's so many plans out there that you can copy and use, or inspire you to create something.
Now, is it true that to avoid like splintering the wood when you're carving, that you should carve with the grain?
Always, yes.
Always, right.
One of the things that I did very early in my carving career is a chain. A chain is a very very good learning tool, because on the link, each link itself, you have to carve with the grain going around to here. But once you go past it, you're going against the grain. Okay. So you have to turn it around and carve that way.
Okay. Yeah.
And then on the inside, the same thing happens. Right. You have to carve with the grain on the inside up to the center point, and then you have to start over here and carve up to the center point to be with the grain. So you have to be constantly aware of the grain, because once you start carving against it, it will splinter real badly. Right. And this piece got lots of splintering on it, because I did this as a practice piece a long time ago, and I like to keep it because it's a good demonstration of of what can happen and how the grain works. Also, this piece of wood is butternut, which splinters more than basswood.
Is there a like when you're carving? Is there a way to not even like with the splintering, but if you're just kind of carving one of these pieces and you misshape some sort of like a part of the figurine, is there a way to fix or course correct any of the mistakes that you?
You can.
Yeah.
Most of the time, carvers just carve deeper.
Okay.
And just eliminate the mistake by carving deeper. But if you do accidentally break something off, you can glue it back on and keep going. I've glued lots of different pieces back on that have broken off in a carving. Sometimes it happens near the edge of a piece. This piece here is a little bit weak.
Okay.
So it's possible to break that off, and if that happens while you're carving, you can glue it back on and keep going. We do that quite often.
Is there a way to kind of know before you enter a piece of wood to kind of know what the grain is going to look like for that wood? If that would help at all. Yeah.
Yeah, if you can put a knife to it and just carve a little piece off, you could see right away what it's going to look like. And let's face it, you're going to remove a bunch of wood anyway, so it's easy to take some of it away.
So to attain these different styles and textures that we were talking about earlier, these are what you have called study sticks, right?
Yeah. And these are plastic resins of somebody carved a face, and then they detailed every step that it takes to carve the nose, the mouth, and the eyes, and in different various stages in order to get to the end. He's even got a section here on how to carve the eyes, and these are very valuable to study to create different kinds of finishes. There's one down here for a fish as well.
Now, if what would you recommend for a beginner who's eager to learn this craft? What would you what would be the first step that they should kind of consider before carving?
I would recommend don't do anything except come to one of our meetings.
Okay.
Because
all right.
Because we have accumulated as a club over the years, we've accumulated lots of different supplies and items and tools and knives. And I would recommend strongly that if you have any interest at all, to just show up at one of our meetings, and we can provide finger protectors, gloves, all kinds of different gloves, different sizes, whatever.
Right.
We have a whole army of tools and knives here to use, and we have some simple projects that can be done.
Okay.
This would be a little owl that can be made. We have little simple relief carvings that can be done by beginners. And we can provide you with all the protective equipment that you need. We can supply you with knives. We can show you how to keep them sharp. We can show you how to safely use them.
Right.
And we can teach you how to make basic cuts in a safe manner where you won't hurt yourself. And I also recommend that you don't rush out and buy a bunch of tools because you don't know what fits in your hand and works well. So if you come and you borrow some of ours and you decide what kind of knife you'd like, well, then you can go out and buy one. And by the way, a basic carving knife costs about $25. So it's not a really expensive thing to do. And if you wanted to visit our club and try a few little simple projects, see how you like it. And if you decided that you wanted to join, a family membership is $45 a year and a single membership is $30. So again, it's not a huge investment to enjoy this hobby.
Now, you guys meet at the Wooddale Library still,
Yes,
right?
on the first and third Monday of every month from 6:30 to 8:30.
All right. And what if one of the viewers wanted to buy one of these carvings, either one of your fellow carvers or even some of your pieces? Could they kind of reach out to you through the Facebook group of the North Suburban Carvers?
Well, there are several carvers that love to sell their items. There are some real premier carvers that take commissions and will carve, anything you want, for a price. I generally am not selling very many things. I haven't run out of family members that want everything I carve.
Okay, fair enough, yeah.
I usually end up giving them all away
Right.
to friends and family, and I really don't sell too many things. I have sold some things, and I usually regret everything I sell. I miss them when they're gone.
Yeah, Yeah, I know it's kind of hard to maybe part with some of the pieces if you know, that's your creation. So now one of the things we actually didn't get to talk about yet, this is a carver apron.
Well, it's a carving apron.
Yeah,
Not everybody has one, but I kind of like it because I can sit and carve and the chips fall into my little pouch, and then I don't make as big of a mess.
Right, little popcorn, maybe potato chips
Yeah.
or something. That you know, just kind of, you know, with the hobby, with everything.
That works too.
Okay, all right. So, lastly, if somebody wanted to kind of reach out to you directly, if they had any questions, they can reach out to you through the Facebook group that
Facebook page, yes.
you're kind of in charge of that Facebook group.
I am, and there's even on the website, my phone number's on there. You can call me anytime.
Great. All right. Thank you so much, Paul, for being here.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you. I'm Mike Scipione. Thanks for watching.